Good morning, everybody, and I welcome you to the session on organizing the labor unit. Now, all of you must have seen the labor rooms, you may have worked in labor rooms, you may have your own personal experience of being in labor room. Let us quickly see when we say labor room. What do we mean? Now, labor room is a well-equipped place in a center, hospital for the delivery of a woman. Now, this room is used for labor and birth in addition to the initial hours of recovery after the birth of the baby. Now, labor ward, labor room, labor unit, all these terms are synonymous. Now, this should be kept ready with the requisite equipment, as UNICEF declares that every delivery to be considered as obstetrical emergency. So we need to be ready with our labor room at all times. Now, what is the need? Why should we organize the labor room? Now, over the years, according to the National Family Health Survey 2015-16, there has been tremendous increase in the institutional deliveries. Now, this increase has still not brought down the maternal and newborn mortality rates and the stillbirth rates. So this is a concern. Now, this is a concern for the administrator, for the senior people sitting at the policy level, and it has been observed that majority of the deaths, that means 46% of maternal death, 40% of stillbirths, and 25% of the under 5 deaths do take place on the day of delivery. So from this we understand that the day of delivery, the time of delivery is very, very crucial. So keeping in mind these facts and figures, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has launched a program called Lakshya, which aims to improve the quality of care in labor room and maternity OT, and that means during the intrapartum and immediate postpartum period. So the Lakshya program was launched on 11 December 2017 with the following objectives: reduction in the maternal newborn morbidity and mortality, improving the quality of care during delivery and immediate postpartum period, enhance satisfaction of beneficiary. Now, the beneficiary here are the pregnant women. So giving them the positive birthing experience, providing respectful maternity care to all the pregnant mothers attending the healthcare facilities. Now, in order to achieve these objectives, Government of India made certain guidelines for the standardization of labor rooms. So the target beneficiaries under the Lakshya program will cover, that means the pregnant women who are admitted to all these facilities, that is government medical colleges, district hospital, equivalent healthy facilities, all the designated FRU, that is first referral unit, and all the CHCs who have more than 100 deliveries per month. So the key features of Lakshya program are to improve the quality of care in labor room and maternity OT. Now, under this initiative, there are various steps being adopted: the improvement of infrastructure, upgradation of labor room, providing adequate human resources. Adequate human resources means we have ample and sufficient number of health workers, that means the nursing officer, the technicians, the paramedical staff, the cleaning staff and other supportive staff. So which helps to build the capacity of the health workers and improving the quality of care in the labor room. So this implementation of fast track interventions will take us in the improvement of quality of care in the labor room. So now we have understood that yes, improvement of infrastructure is required, improvement in the health facilities, human resources. Now these human resources, they need to build their skills, they need to have better competencies. For this, some other programs called Dakshata and Daksh, under which the skill labs have been created over all of the country, and the health workers are sent to these skill labs from time to time so that they can improve on their skills and become better healthcare workers. Now let me talk about the guidelines more, because these guidelines will give us more clarity in relation to the organization of labor room. Now these guidelines can be touched upon under three scenarios. Now one scenario or one situation can be that we don't have the problem of funds, we don't have the space constraint, so we build a new labor room and we follow the guidelines, recommendations given by the Government of India or Ministry of Health. Now another situation is that we have constraint of space, we have constraint of funds, and we cannot build a new labor room. So in this situation, what can be done? The existing labor room can be expanded. That means suppose it doesn't have a newborn care area in that, so we can cover the additional room, or from the additional areas we can pick up some areas and extend the labor room, so that we are able to achieve the guidelines or the recommendations given by the Ministry of Health. Okay, now talking about the third scenario or third situation, that we do not have sufficient space, we do not have the funds to build a new labor room. So what is done? The upgradation in the existing facilities, like we did not have a newborn corner, so we tried to create space in the existing labor room whereby we have the newborn corner where we can put the requisite equipment, aids which are required for newborn resuscitation. Now these guidelines for upgradation of labor room focus mainly on 5 areas, which are space and layout, equipment and accessories, consumable, human resources, practices and protocols. Now let us see one by one. When I say space and layout, now this means that in the initial stage, the hospital should hire an architect and see that how the space and layout can be changed depending on which situation the hospital fits into. I have already dealt with 3 scenarios. So which scenario this hospital fits into, and we try to take the guidance from the architect and try to bring the changes. So there are lot of recommendations, lot of clear-cut specifications given in relation to the walls, in relation to the tiles, in relation to the color of the tiles, in relation to the floor of the labor room, so that we have follow the recommendations which are given by the Ministry of Health. In addition to that, in the space and layout, there are going to be different rooms and areas in the labor room, like we have the nurses station, we have the store, we have the clean utility room, the dirty utility room. In relation to all these areas, I'm just talking about few of them. There is a big list of rooms which are made in the labor room. So there are specifications in relation to each room. Now for example, the clean utility room, it is used for keeping all the sterile and clean linen, clean equipment, clean instruments in that room. The dirty utility room is used for keeping all the used or dirty or unsterile sets in that room. So there are very clear-cut guidelines, clear-cut instructions given, and we are supposed to follow them. Then talking about the equipment and accessories. Now equipment and accessories will depend from the facilities we are talking about. In the PHC, in the CHC, in the sub-center, in the district hospital, each facility or each center will have different requirement, and also depending on the delivery load. But the thumb rule should be that we should have all the equipment and accessories available, stocked for 1 month. So for 1 month we must have the supplies available. Now to name some of the equipment and accessories, they are like the wall clock, the hub cutter, the hand washing soap dispensing machine, then it is the baby's weighing scale, because these are very important equipment and accessories required in the labor room. Now consumable, all of us know what is consumable. Consumable items are the ones which we use in the labor room day to day, and it is very difficult to keep a check on their uses. So, and they are, to name some of the consumable items, it is the gauze piece, the cotton swab, the IV sets, the cannulas. But again, the thumb rule should be that we should have the consumable available for 1 month at least. That means we should stock them and preserve for 1 month. We should always have 1 month stock with us in the store. Then talking about the human resources. Now human resources here, I mean that the health workers, the technicians, the staff nurses or the nursing officers, the supportive staff, the dietitian, they all constitute the human resources. Now again, the need for the human resources will vary from the facility to facility. For a PHC, the human resources requirement is different. For a district hospital, it is different. So depending on the facility we are talking, the human resources recommendation is given. Now sometimes there may be shortage of these human resources. So then the administration should hire new health workers or whichever type of health worker they face the shortage, they should hire and employ the new health worker. And not only this, at times we have seen in the hospitals there is shortage of nurses, so the nurses working in labor room, they are made to work in the other areas. This practice should be totally stopped. The nurses who are put in the labor room should be strictly working in the labor room only. Now talking about the practices and protocol. Now practices and protocol means that every hospital have some practices about different procedures. Then protocol is like SOPs. We have formulated protocols how to do the hand washing. So everybody has to follow those 6 steps of hand washing. Then the care of the woman in labor. How frequently the PV should be repeated. How the woman should be shifted from the labor room to the delivery room. Though we recommend that the mother should deliver on the delivery bed, not on the delivery trolley. But we will still see some hospitals that they will not follow these practices. But we still recommend that these practices and protocols should be strictly followed. Not only following, all these practices and protocol should be displayed at different places in the labor room. It may be inside the labor room, it may be at the entrance, and it may be at all the respective places where they can be of use or whichever is relevant to that protocol. Then not only this, these protocol and practices, the objective of having these protocols is that we must review them. So there should be every once in a month we should have a review committee meeting in which all the health workers who are involved working in the labor room, they should be there, and the medical officer, the obstetrician, the nurses, and they should be visited by the medical officer maybe twice a week, by the supervisor, to see that these practices are followed, to see that the essential steps which should be followed are being implemented, and the cleanliness, whatever protocols has been set up. Suppose labor room cleaning has to be done in every shift, thrice in every shift and after every delivery. So that has been followed or not. A logbook should be maintained and which should be signed by the supervisor. So this is in brief about when we talk about the upgradation of labor rooms, under these guidelines the upgradation should be done. Now from these guidelines we derive some of the do's which every labor room should follow, which is the privacy to every birthing mother by separate cubicle or different or by curtains. See, I have been talking in the earlier slides also that as far as possible there should be different space for every mother, but there are hospitals, we are low resource hospital, lack of funds can be there, so at least they can put curtains in between the bed so that the mother is provided the privacy. Then the presence of birth companion during labor. Now birth companion can be the husband, the mother-in-law, or the mother, whomever the pregnant mother is comfortable with. He or she should be allowed to be with the mother throughout the labor process, and we can give a chair for the birth companion to be there. Then freedom to choose any position of delivery, though the conventional position of delivery is lithotomy position, but there are other positions like sitting, squatting. If the mother wants to opt this position, we should give them the choice. Then adherence to clinical protocols for management. So all the health workers, doctor, nurses, everybody should follow the protocols which have been formulated in the management of care of the pregnant mother. Then use of delivery beds rather than delivery tables. Placing the baby on the mother's abdomen soon after birth. So that means as soon as the baby is born, the baby is put even before the cord is cut or separated from the mother. The baby should be put on mother's abdomen, and then the cord can be cut and clamped and cut. Putting the baby on the breast within first hour of birth. That means this can be in the delivery room, or maybe if she is shifted to the postnatal ward, within 1 hour we must fulfill this breastfeeding. Respectful maternity services. Now I mean by this that there should not be physical or verbal abuse to the mother. At times we come across that in the labor room, the nurses or the doctors may be shouting at the mother that what is this? You have been screaming, you have been disturbing other patients, please don't shout, otherwise I'm not going to deliver your baby, I'll push you out, I'll send you out. So all these things should be refrained. And physical abuse can be like hitting the mother. Now there are other do's which are recommended from these guidelines at all the facilities, and they are like whether it is the PHC, whether it is the CHC or district hospital, they must be followed. Like on admission, the vital signs of the mother should be checked, the fetal heart should be checked, the condition of the mother should be checked, and whether the mother is in preterm labor or term labor, that should be seen. Then once she is in labor, it is very important to maintain partograph for all the women who are in labor. So there should be training of the health workers in relation to partograph, how to use partograph. They should be acquainted with the partograph form, and the stationery or partograph forms in ample amount should be available in the labor room. Then active management of third stage of labor. Now, essential newborn care, drying and wrapping of the baby, and then immediate resuscitation. If the baby needs resuscitation, that should be followed, and immediate initiation of breastfeeding and administration of injection vitamin K. Then at discharge, the assessment of the maternal bleeding, maternal condition before she is discharged. One should make sure that she is fit to be discharged, and also her hemodynamic status, the mother and the baby's hemodynamic status is under control. Now this is again supplementing whatever I have already touched upon, that the quality of care in labor room can be achieved by giving privacy to the mother, by following the infection control norms or guidelines, having ample of drugs, having trained staffs, and availability of doctors 24/7, and giving privacy to the mother, and proper referral system. On admission, there should be a provision to identify the risk factor, and the low risk mothers can be delivered by the nurses, and the high risk mother should be delivered by the obstetrician. So this leads to the quality of care in the labor room. Now this is again some picture of labor room you can see, and when we say a good labor room or ideal labor room should have the protocols being formulated, which is displayed, availability of the drugs, there should be curtains, provision of oxygen, it can be oxygen cylinder or it can be wall supply, then the drugs, the different trays for the drugs, the provision of partograph, trained doctors and nurses. Now these are some pictures which show you that how an ideal labor room should be. As you can see in the picture, the woman is attached to the CTG machine, and on the wall she has the oxygen supply, the suction machine. So every mother will have all these monitors attached to her corner or her bedside. And you can see in the other picture that yellow curtains, that means the beds are separated with the curtains, which is a very good way of giving privacy to the mother. And even you can see the beds are adjustable depending on the need. The mother wants to sit, the head end needs to be raised, the foot end needs to be lowered. All these things can be done, and cleaning also becomes very easy. Now, after talking about the training of health workers, we have dealt in that. Now, training of health workers, in view of this, the Government of India launched two programs. One is Dakshata and Daksh. Under this, the health workers are sent for training in skills to make their competencies refined, to make them more skillful. There are skill labs being made across the country in different states. So these health workers are sent in that, and they are taught on mannequins, on dolls, and there are simulation lab whereby they become more comfortable, they become confident, and they go back and work in the labor room to give quality care to the woman. Now, ideal labor room, when we say ideal labor room, it should have the provision of sufficient light, 24/7, power backup, light, water supply. It should have drugs, it should have uh, policies and protocols formulated, and provision of oxygen, maybe by cylinder or by wall oxygen, and everything is displayed. It is a very organized setup whereby working becomes very comfortable for the health workers. Now, from these guidelines, we also can find out some don'ts. Every day today we observe that once the mother is given this interferon drip, it goes on, but that is not the practice to be followed. Now, oxytocin administration should be done only with sound clinical indication. So, augmentation and induction of labor without sound indication should not be done. No compromise in the privacy and dignity of the woman is tolerated. Use of delivery table instead of delivery bed should be stopped, and no physical and verbal abuse to the pregnant women can be tolerated. Insisting on conventional lithotomy position should be stopped. Immediate clamping and cutting of the umbilical cord to be avoided, because the recent recommendation is delayed clamping of the cord. Then separating the mother and the baby just for routine care. This is not to be done, because the baby can be given the care even with the mother. We need not separate the baby. Now, these are some pictures to show you the don'ts, which take you to the don'ts of the labor room. Now, in this picture, you can see it is not an organized labor room. The trolleys, the things are kept in a very haphazard manner. It is rusted. It just in no way looks like a hospital setup or a labor room. So this is just to give you an idea that what all should not be in the labor room. Now, just a quick recap that the do's of labor room is having protocols, having the provision of partograph, the display of practices and procedures, the mother's privacy is given, there is no physical and verbal abuse to the mother, the doctors and nurses are trained, we have drugs are all the time available, and emergency tray is always available. And the don'ts are that the mother should not be abused, the mother should not be compromised with the privacy and with the dignity. So, to sum up, to say that organization of labor room, to conclude on the organization of labor room, it is very important that even we may not have whatever recommendation or guidelines have been given by Ministry of Health, at least making them improvised, making them better, training our health workers so that we are going towards the quality improvement in the maternal and newborn care. Thank you so much.